Both of these teams are tenacious. A rivalry that's older than LCS itself. This game, it is huge.
TSM had a slow start to the split. They have some redemption on their minds after a showing at MSI.
Controlled game from Counterlogic Gaming. The start of the split going very well for them.
You guys pretty much stopped that game, so.
Honestly, when TSM plays CLG, both of us bring like our 110%. This will really show like who's the better team.
Through many roster changes, through many different rosters, it's just stick there, that rivalry. I like all the CLG guys, but with all this hype, I really want to beat them.
You want to come out strong and beat CLG like always.
Pobelter has so much to prove. He doesn't get the credit that he deserves. I think beating TSM is like the first step in him solidifying himself as like one of the top carry mid laners.
Pride is definitely on the line here. We need to beat CLG.
Last split on Winter Fox when we played TSM, we're all walking back to our rooms right next to TSM. They were like, oh, we're so bad. Saying that right next to the team that you just beat, that made me feel really angry. Kind of want to get some payback.
Welcome to Week 2, Day 2 of the North American League Championship Series Summer Split. Now we're coming to you once again from our studio here in Los Angeles, and the crowd is pumped up for another day of League. There's lots of love out there for the teams, and even a little bit of love for our very own Kobe. And of course, we've got a reverse Annie in the crowd today. Nice to see that. Cloud9 arrived at the studio not too long ago. They're going to be facing off today against Xiaowei Zhao and the rest of Team Impulse, who you see arriving as well. Both teams rather, are looking for a win to stop their slide in the standings. We'll see what they can do in our first matchup of the day. Now, hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, and we're no doubting for more surprises on the Rift today. Today, joining me on the analyst desk, we've got Aiden Zyrene Moon, Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler, and David Freak Turley. Gentlemen, a big day of games, including that marquee matchup, third game of the day, TSM versus CLG. And that has been the one match on everyone's radar, the latest battle between House CLG and House Team Solo Mid. And this one never disappoints. So, gentlemen, how do you think these perennial powerhouses stack up this time around?
And just like Doublelift said in that intro there, every time these teams come up against each other, it's 110%. Right as they're hitting their stride, they're going to meet each other. And TSM last week and yesterday, they went back to a mid-focused type of composition style. And it worked for them again. It's great. They're going back to that. It's going back to their roots, start of the season. Good to see them pick up those wins. Now they're up against CLG, who they have a new mid laner. Pobelter's in there, and they don't have to put resources into him. He's winning the lane. He's second highest KDA in the league right now at 24.5, and they don't have to do anything to Pobelter's lane. He shows up for the team fights, and that frees up Smithy to go do whatever he wants. That frees up their shot callers, Zion Spartan and Afromu, to make really calm, collected plays across the map, and that's why this is just going to be a great match overall, because they match up so well in different places.
Yeah, no doubt Pobelter's going to come out swinging, looking for Bjergsen, but I'm really interested in the top lane, just because yesterday Zion had a hard carry game for CLG on his Rumble. He is #1 in all of the LCS as far as KDA. It's only been 3 games, but still very impressive stat, 25 KDA for him. You know, Zyrus is, in the middle of the pack as far as top laners are right now. 3 KDA for all the top laners, but
that's so stark.
That matchup, CLG has shown that they are very willing to have a top lane carry. And although TSM have practiced that style, it has not shown up in the LCS games yet.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, CLG's solo lanes are very, very strong, and I think CLG can be considered the favorites in this match. But I think there's actually another strength here that it's funny because it's an old strength, but it's their duo lane here. Doublelift and Afromu are confident 2v2ing any duo lane in North America. We know the Wild Turtle and Lustboy aren't really known for the laning phase in general, so this is another pressure point that CLG can go back to old ways, crush the duo lane, and use those guys to win the game as well.
And I also really like the new wrinkle in that, old power that they have, where Doublelift is willing to take the team-oriented AD carry, even into a Kalista matchup, and take Sivir into that. It adds a lot of versatility to CLG.
Right, of course, CLG can pull a Fnatic and just, go send Zion Spartan, a.k.a. Huni, into the top lane and just, crush Dyrus, and that's fine. There's, I think, more angles of attack for CLG here.
Well, you know, yesterday we had a lot of discussion about power picks. With CLG on the blue side, TSM on the red side, how do we feel the advantage falls going into Champion Select here?
It all comes down to what you value, and personally, I'm going to say the blue side has the advantage here. First off, you don't have to ban Ryze. You get to power pick that first if it's left open for you. And since they have 2 carries, and it's the solo laners, Zion Spartan and Poe Belter, you'll at least get a counter pick for one of them. And if you don't get a counter pick, then you're going to be able to get a priority power pick for them that you think is something very strong. And even then, you can be like, well, let's just put Poe Belter on something safe so Bjergsen can counter pick like an AP Kog'Maw or whatever.
Yeah, that definitely is true. I always value red side a little bit higher when I'm playing TSM just because I want a safe counter pick for the mid lane to deal with whatever Bjergsen has. I never want to give him the ability to counter pick my mid laner, but that's a very valid point. Plus, you know, all the historians in the audience will know that CLG blue side is the most important thing ever. All we have are blue side strategies, right?
Yeah, exactly. Great. So we're back in season 2 here. Yeah, I think there is an interesting wrinkle as you're talking about Ryze first pick. Blue side allows you to pressure early game aggressive junglers. And that is something that can actually be a really big factor where jungle pressure is like one of the big strengths of TSM in that they can use Santorin to get Bjergsen ahead. So I think that's also like, you know, 2 bans and a first pick on jungle could also be a very important pinch for CLG.
And so you think that, because based on yesterday, we didn't see jungle picks pinched too often. You think that's a direction that CLG might go today?
I mean, we saw enemy try and fail. Right, like enemy was like, all right, we're gonna like first pick Gragas, and then like Rek'Sai's still there.
It's only good if you're actually pinching the pool.
Right. So I mean, failing at Champion Select aside, I think it really just depends on the teams, right? We've seen teams screw it up. We want to see sort of what the strategy is. My first thought is maybe you try pinching the jungle if Ryze is already banned. If it's not, then it becomes kind of a weird toss-up.
All right, well, we have a few games prior to that matchup, but it's sure to be an exciting one. Over on Twitter, you guys were calling out a number of flashy plays from yesterday's matches. Our first comes from Team Dignitas against TDK. FFG Lord writes, that was a beautiful flash over the chain of corruption. Let's take a look.
That forces TDK off of the base. 15 seconds on a Zingy. Still have some time to wait. Oh, he flashes over the chain of corruption, but Seraph goes in with the same idea.
You can see here.
This chain.
Just
nope. Woo! Thank you very much. Here's the shields.
Yeah, Seraph jumps in after that, and everybody's like, we gotta save him! But no.
Yeah, as someone who tries to make flashy plays all the time, if we assume Gabsy did that on purpose, like sometimes it's just like, I want to flash Rune Prison you.
I'm going to say he 100% did that on purpose. The corrupted, the ultimate was already in the air before he flashed.
Yeah, so I think right there, like what Gamsu's doing is like, as soon as I see Varus animate, I'm gonna assume it's the ult and just flash it no matter what. Like, the guy could have piercing guarded, he would have flashed that as well, just like because he's ready to flash Rune Prison the guy. I mean, either way is a great play.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that basically turned what looked like a big run back for TDK into a win for Team Dignitas there. Our next up from Cloud9 versus Gravity, TL Moonbear writes, that flash timing by Keen was ridiculous. Here's your number 2.
Fight begins, Buddy Fufu low on health, knocked up by Nautilus, kill goes to Balls. Incarnation stays alive so far, Keen getting just evaporated, pops the Zhonya's levitation, flashes out, Balls dies, great flash by Keen.
Keen jumps in, remember he's built to be a frontline TF, so even though Meteos caught him, and he got the combo there with Incarnation, they still weren't able to take him out.
Now that one, you know he was just mashing flash.
Yeah.
Mashing flash button. And that has a lot to do with the timings of the people who shot the laser and shot the Arcane Barrage. So props to TSM for that.
Right. But in terms of time wasted there around the Zhonyas for Cloud9, and then on top of that, not securing the kill was a pretty big play in terms of swinging the game for Gravity. Finally, from TSM versus Team Impulse, Coley X3 says, Bjergsen with LeBlanc is perfection. It's your number 1 LCS big play.
Dyra is here to help. Santorin is tanky enough, and Wild Turtle here to deal some damage. Bjergsen cuts off Rush, the kick over the wall. Bjergsen shows back up. Ignite in a Q, not going to give him the kill just yet, but Bjergsen still wants it. All right, that's going to do it. That's going to do it. Bjergsen gets the kill, the solo kill on the Rush.
Yeah, what to do? I've landed my Q, but nowhere to go. All right.
There are 2 total assists for TSM. It's really just Bjergsen and friends running around.
It's just call that one.
It's honestly nothing for him to do. He's like, I hit it, but even if I connect, it's not an execute range, so run away.
Should have queued Raptors, bro. You
it was down. It was down.
Well, then you shouldn't have cleared the camp a minute and a half ago.
Yeah.
Hindsight.
Come on, bro.
All right, well, with all of those, let's take a peek at the standings to see how the teams are situated after yesterday's games. In first place with an undefeated 3-0 are Counter Logic Gaming and Team Liquid. Then just one game back in third are Gravity, Team Dignitas, and TSM. Holding 1 win and 2 losses are Cloud9, Enemy, and Team Impulse. And in ninth are Team 8 and TDK. Turning to today's schedule, we are starting it off with Cloud9 out to rebound against Team Impulse. Then we'll jump into Team Liquid versus Gravity. After that, buckle up for Counter Logic Gaming versus Team Solo Mid. Now, before we send it over to the casters, we want to ping you guys on Twitter about today's big showdown between CLG and TSM. We've heard the rivalry called many things: El Clasico, the backyard brawl, Goliath versus Goliath, and depending on which side of the feud you're on, Dumpster Palooza. But what nickname do you give the rivalry showdown between CLG and TSM? Send your responses to @LOLesports and throw on the hashtag LCS. We'll be reading a few of our favorites a little later. Now, without further ado, let's head over to the caster desk to get the games underway.